Hi everybody, welcome to Chapter 2 in our class. This is the Theoretical Foundations of Child Guidance. As I said in the last video, this is a long one. This could probably go about 50-60 minutes. I want you to take breaks as you're watching this one. I promise you, you will never have another lecture in this course as long as this one. But you need to know there's a ton of content here, and this is one that I want you to really pay attention to. Your final project in this class is a research paper. It is a 7 to 10 research paper basically on a theorist or a topic in schools or early learning centers that you think benefits you. This chapter should introduce you to the theorists and give you some people that could be interesting to you. If something interests you, that should be your topic. So try to look at this and try to think about which one of these theorists or which one of these ideas could actually help you better explore something you care about in schools. So our first theorist that we look at is Dewey. He recently just passed away. He basically had the human systems idea of ecology, saying that children grew up in different systems, they're all nested within another, and there were different areas of human development based on the child's interaction. There have been research studies on the movie Precious and how that relates to Bronfenbrenner's theory of child development. People have looked at that before in other classes that I've taught. You need to know that the human area of development really depends on all these external factors, which is what Bronfenbrenner was trying to prove. Bronfenbrenner used the terms microsystem, mesosystem, macrosystem, and chronosystem. The microsystem is the child, their family, their peer group, their child care center, and their neighborhood. So that's all the stuff that's right in the middle here. The mesosystem is everything that's connected through the different microsystems. So this could be your family's bonding, their attitudes, their discipline, any rewards that they give, anything of that nature. The macrosystem is values. How do trends come into play, types of government, major events that could possibly impact a community. So how does culture impact human development? And then the chronosystem is how these values change or are consistent over time. Values change and values are consistent over time. If I were teaching this class 20 years ago, I would be sitting here telling all of you, it'd be great if you went to college. Now, going to college and getting at least an associate's degree is almost 100% expected of you. Wasn't the case 20 years ago. So our ecology of human development has changed because our chronosystem has changed, if that makes sense to you. So then we have this notion and this concept of family systems theory. This is a theory that explains how families are groups of interrelated people. So one member of the family impacts another member of the family. They determine boundaries, rules, and roles. Family systems theory really emerged because of the number of separations that occur between adults and even children. So when a separation occurs, when a divorce occurs, when moving occurs, family systems theory examines how those things and those boundaries have impacted both relationships and how children are able to learn. So boundaries talks about a family's ideas about separateness and togetherness. Some families really just want children to go off on their own and be successful. Some have these pressures that are built in that say the adult makes the decision, the eldest makes the decision. In my culture, which is an Italian culture, that's what I grew up in. I didn't have much independence. You do what your father said, and my father was the eldest in his line, so everybody did what my father said, and that's kind of our boundaries in our culture. So rules are not rules that people have to follow. These are traditions that families use. Some children have different, some children have different rules at home than they do when they're in school. Some children are expected to act a certain way at home, and they're expected to act a certain way in school. A good teacher understands that children have different responsibilities at home and in school. And we talk a lot in this class. I'm not really going to talk about physical development or intellectual development. I talk about physical development in Education 103, Health and Safety, which is offered every spring through BC3. This class really looks at social and emotional development. So socially and emotionally, children are going to be 1,000,000% different at home than they are at the school setting. So rules lead to roles. So each member of a group or a family sometimes has a different role. Sometimes the child is the scapegoat. Sometimes the child's a helper. Sometimes the child's the savior. Sometimes the child is the peacemaker if parents are fighting. Once a child is assigned to that role, it's very it's very difficult for them to break it. The child is encouraged to be farther in that role and then develop it more as they grow. So John Dewey, you can't go through an education class without at least mentioning John Dewey. He was one of the most prolific educators of all time. He did a lot of work internationally. He worked in Turkey, he worked in France, and he did a lot of work in the United States as well. He found that children care about 4 different things. They want to investigate and discover things. All kids do. You throw them in a room and say, here are a bunch of toys, they're going to walk around, they're going to explore. They might not even play with any toys that they're supposed to be playing with because they're too busy exploring. They have to communicate with each other or with you as the adult. They like to build things. Children like to construct things and see things as a vision from their own identity. And they also have artistic expression too. Dewey was one of the few reasons why we still have arts in our school system. You'll hear me talk from a principal perspective in this class and know that one of the things we look at as principals is should art education, not arts education, but should art education be cut in early childhood? One of the reasons we support that is the fact that, well, you're learning how to teach art to kids from K to 4 anyway in your classes. It's what creative experiences is. You're learning how to add art into your regular classroom teaching days. So can we cut art education? Well, we wouldn't have had that discussion, we would have had that discussion much sooner if it wasn't for John Dewey. So we talk about all of the different interests of children. Children want to investigate, they want to ask questions, they like to build things, and they also like to express themselves through drama, dance, art, and music. So another thing that Dewey was big on was this notion of creating a community classroom. This means the children need to have a voice, they need to have say. Even though it says that the classrooms need to be democratic, that doesn't mean they're teaching kids how to be liberals. That means that kids have to have the right to vote, they have to have the right to have their input heard, and they have the right to be able to collaborate and make decisions with the teachers. Children should learn how to resolve conflicts when they occur, and when they're able to do that, that's going to build a better and more effective classroom as well. So next we have our biggest and most important theorist. Jean Piaget is the one that you're going to see in every single one of your early childhood classes. Once again, I don't know if you had educational psych before you took this class. I'm assuming most of you had this in conjunction with educational psych. Piaget is the biggest name that you're going to learn about in all of your early childhood classes. You're going to be sick of hearing this name, sick of going over Piaget. I teach DOG classes and master's level classes, and I assume everybody has a knowledge of Piaget, but this is weird because I'm recording this and I have to go from scratch on Piaget. So Piaget looked at natural sciences. He looked at science before he looked at children. And then he started to decide that there is a science to how children develop. And this is this concept of constructivism. So he determined that there's a specific way that children develop, and we can judge children based on their development and help them socially and emotionally based on what they do. Piaget said children learn most when they are actively involved in building knowledge. So that's a bunch of words. Basically, this is what Piaget would mean. I'm standing here recording this lesson. I have a little bucket right here. You want children to learn about what a bucket is, you pass them out a bucket and you have them put things in it. If children put things in the bucket, they're learning about what the bucket is. They're manipulating the object, they're saying, wow, a bucket holds things. So children learn about people through interaction with people. If a child doesn't like another child, well, they learn that because they interacted with that child. So that's important when we're looking at Piaget. He's looking at the interactions between people and objects. So his other idea was assimilation and accommodation. Children first assimilate everything because it's what the schema that they're used to on birth is. If a child doesn't know the difference between a dog and a cat, and a child sees a cat, they see 4 legs, a tail, and it's an animal and it crawls. So all they see are cats. Then they see a dog, they're going to say, wow, that must be a cat too. That's assimilation. They're taking information they already have, the concept of what a cat is, and they're making those features look at what a dog is. So the example the book gives you is if a child knows that birds fly, they see a butterfly, they're going to call that a bird. the child has mastered the concept of assimilation when they're able to accommodate, when they can change the concept to include new information, and they know that birds fly, but guess what? Other animals fly too. So Piaget's cognitive development theory, this is what you're going to know off by heart. If you do decide to get certified to be a school teacher, you're going to have to know the stages of Piaget's cognitive development, and they change over several years. And he believed children will adapt based on how well they're able to understand their own cognitive development. So here we have the 4 stages of cognitive development. You need to know this off by heart. I will have probably about 10 questions on your first test on this. You can use your notes, you can use your book, you can use the internet. Try to find out as much as you can about these stages, because this is one of the biggest developmental concepts that we're going to be looking at in schools when you're looking at how to teach early childhood. I want you to note that as early childhood teachers, the big movement that we look at for you is what happens in pre-operational and concrete operational. You should know all 4, but if you're going to be a classroom teacher, this is the idea. When a child jumps from pre-operational to concrete operational is the biggest idea that you'll be responsible for. So, what should children know in the sensory motor phase? Infants use reflexive actions that are centered on their own bodies to find out about the world. First, from birth to 4 months. They learn to open and close their fists. They learn how to grasp. They see mobiles, so they'll start hitting them and kicking at them, saying, wow, if I touch this, I manipulate it, it can move. By 4 to 8 months, babies see how their actions impact others. Now notice that I'm saying this in chapter 2, because one of the arguments that Marion makes throughout this book is that babies and children at a young age are very, very, very cognizant and smart. And when they learn how their actions affect others, they can manipulate it and manipulate the system. If a baby cries all the time, therefore their mother comes to them, the baby's going to learn the schema, I cry, mommy comes to me. By 8 to 12 months, children acquire something called object permanence. They know that objects are there even if it's not visible, so the object is still there. If I was demonstrating object permanence, this is a transparent bucket, so it wouldn't work, but I have my wallet. So I show child wallet. Child says wallet, wallet, wallet. Object permanence would be if I covered this up and I put the wallet in the bucket, this was an all black one, and I said, where's the wallet? Initially, the child would say the wallet's not there. But then they know, oh, the wallet is inside the bucket and it's being covered. This is the game of peekaboo that is played with children as well. So then, between 12 and 18 months, children are terrors when it comes to exploration of objects. They try everything, they touch everything, and you need to be careful as parents, and you need to be careful as child care providers. I think this age, I think year 1 to 2 is one of the toughest ages if you're working in an early learning setting. So then children start to think by about 18 months. They know that if they knock something off a table that it will spill, so they think before they start to act, but they have to learn that based on their experience between months 12 to 18. So then we have the most important period of time. This is the pre-operational period. This is what you really need to know for the PECT exam, and you really need to know for this course. This is when children can describe experiences, they can talk about it, they can paint it, they can draw, they can see something, and they can delay it until later. Perfect example of this, a child sees a martial arts style kick on television. They watch a martial arts match, they see somebody kick. Then they wait a day later and they're able to take that kick, remember it, and use it. So, limitations of pre-operational that I think are worth mentioning. Children are, as we've mentioned a number of times, egocentric. They are focused on themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. All kids are focused on themselves. Most adults are focused on their own viewpoint. But children struggle to take other perspectives, and that creates a problem as well. Children also cannot reverse operations. They can't go backwards from something if they need to, and they can't perform conservation tasks. So what are conservation tasks? Well, that's what we're going to look at here. I have some videos, but obviously looking at this from a YouTube perspective, we're going to show a YouTube video on YouTube. So you might be better off watching this on your own, but I'm still going to connect to this, and it might be something that might benefit you.
I'm quite sure what happened.
Let me get this set up so you can see it in here.
New babies aren't quite sure what happens to objects when they leave their sight. Sky's mom keeps disappearing and reappearing. No wonder peekaboo is so much fun. During their first year, however, infants will learn an important concept: object permanence. Everything has a life of its own, even if it is out of sight.
At Maya's age, babies know to look for the object, but they might not have everything else straight. 10-month-old Simon is about to make a classic mistake. Although he watched us place the toy plane under the white cloth, he'll look for it where he last found it, not where he watched us hide it.
Can you look at these two glasses? Do you think that they have the same amount of juice?
And this is the main project that you'll see kids doing.
Okay. Now we're going to pour this juice into this glass. Now, do you think that this glass has more juice, this glass has more juice, or do you think that they have the same amount?
That one has more.
This one has more, and why do you think that this one has more?
Because it's taller.
Okay, you ready? Okay. Does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more quarters, or do they have the same?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all the same.
They're the same?
5, 5.
Okay. Okay. Does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more, or do they have the same?
This one has more.
That one has more quarters?
Yeah.
Why does this row have more quarters?
Because it's more far away.
It's more far away?
Yeah, it's more far away than that. That's bigger.
All right, we're going to play a game with the graham crackers, and we're going to share them between me and you, okay? Okay. Do you think that we shared those fairly?
No.
No, why not?
You share. You have those and I have this.
Well, what if we try this? Okay, can I put this on there? Now is it fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, why is it fair now?
Because we both have to.
Can you tell me what you see when you look at that from where you're sitting? What are some of the things that you see?
And a cat.
A cat.
And a tree and a barn.
Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. Can you tell me what you see when you look at it from that stool?
An owl.
An owl?
And him.
What is that?
A goat.
A goat? Okay, is there anything else you see?
Yeah, right there.
Right there, what is that?
A tree.
A tree.
And there's another little tree.
Another little tree? Right. And can you tell me what I see when I look at this from where I'm sitting right here?
Owl.
Okay.
And a goat.
Mm-hmm.
A little tree. And that. And that.
So first we're going to look at these two cups right here. Do you think there's the same amount of juice in this glass as there's in that glass? They're even? Okay. So we're going to take the juice from this glass and pour it into this one right here. Okay, so now we're going to look at this glass and that one. So do you think that there's more juice in this glass, more juice in this glass, or do you think that they have the same amount?
Same amount.
Okay, why do you think that they have the same amount?
Just because this is skinny doesn't mean it's not the same amount. It has the same amount of juice in it, but this one is just wider and this one's skinnier, but they have the same amount of juice.
It says
if you hit a glass with a hammer, the glass will break.